Hello, welcome back to Reads of an Apple. My name is Stacy, and I'm here, as you could probably tell from the thumbnail and the general description of this video. We are going to wrap up 2022 and talk about some plans I have for 2023. Now, this will be kind of a catch-all here for my reading stats of the year, my reading plans for 2023. Also, we'll kind of touch base on my YouTube and video plans from both years, as well as just some life things that I have going on. So without further ado, let's just get into it, because one of my plans is to try to make more succinct videos in 2023. I tend to ramble, I tend to talk a lot, I do very minimal editing, and that's just how it works for me. So I definitely want to try to cut back on the length on some of my videos. But yeah, so let's just get into it, and we are going to start with 2022. So we're going to start off bookish related here. And I have my stats templates for the books that I read in 2022. Before we do go over these, back in February of 2022, I started the web novel Under the Oak Tree, and it was kind of hard to track. And I didn't really have any stats. I talked about it in my videos when I was watching it, but because it is a web novel and the chapters are all different lengths, and like one unlocks every day when you can watch a video and get coins to unlock them, you know, the same kind of thing, kind of similar to Webtoon and just other like Amazon Vella and things like that. But I realized a couple months ago that some of the chapters are being compiled into ebooks. So I got the information from the ebooks, and then I went back into my web novel app and figured out when I paid money to unlock things, or at least when I used the in-game coins to unlock things. I didn't spend actual real money on this at all. And figured out what chapters I read through till when, and figured out my dates. And so I did end up adding 3 or 4 of the volumes of Under the Oak Tree. I was able to add it to my reading list. So I do want to throw that out there, that I do have stats for that now. So these stats, if you do the math for the previous 12 months, then these actually seem more if you go off of what I've said in videos, because obviously in my spreadsheet, everything updates any minute I change anything. But with those 3, I think it was 3, and I've read half of the chapters in the 4th one. But with those few additions, that put me at exactly 200 books for 2022. I did not think I'd get to 200 books. My reading had definitely slowed down a lot last year. Doing Vlogmas and reading as much as I did in December ended up helping, especially because I picked up a lot of audiobooks. But yeah, I hit 200 once again. Now, I've gone way over 200 in the past, but I honestly wasn't even sure if I'd hit 150 at like September, so. And the grand total is 51,653 pages. On average, it took me 0.98 days, so less than a day, to read a book. And the average page count for all of them is 258.27 pages. So I feel like I read a lot more novellas this year, which brought that down a little bit. And I like to break things down by page count. So I read 40 books that were 99 pages or less, 37 in the 100s, 34 in the 200s, 66 in the 300s, 14 in the 400s, 2 in the 500s, 5 in the 600s, 1 in the 700s, and 1 in the 900s, and 1 DNF. Only 1. So technically that means I read 201 books, because I read like 50% of the first one, so I could count it for my reading challenges, but it's not included in any of the stats here. outside of like when there is a DNF. I have it just listed there for information. Okay, moving on. I read 71 of these books specifically I picked them up for clubs, readathons, or read-alongs. So that's almost half of the books that I read this year, which is crazy. 68 books I read had some sort of diversity in them. I definitely would like to get that number closer to 50%, but without that being like an active goal of mine to intentionally pick up, like I always want to pick up more diverse books and read more diversely, but without like consciously going, like specifically going after diverse books. I feel pretty happy that like 68 of them, so we're getting close to the 50-50 mark that are diverse, which is fun to see without me like actively working towards it. I also picked up 81 new authors, which is crazy. And I had 10 rereads. For books that I owned in paperback, 47 I previously had. So about a quarter of the books I read I already owned in paperback specifically. And 78 books I added to my wish list. Oh gosh. Moving forward, 39 of the books I read in paperback or physical form. I read 141 ebooks and 20 audiobooks, and most of those were in December. Okay, let's kind of move forward here. So for publishing, I read 64 traditionally published books, 13 from small publishers, and 123 indie published books. I feel like that has gone way up compared to authors I've read in the past, although a lot of authors I follow are now kind of moving to indie publishing after they've finished their contracts with some of the big publishers. As for decades published, I read one book from the 1800s, 8 books published in the 1990s, 11 in the 2000s, 89 in the 2010s, and 91 in the 2020s. I read a lot of new books this year. I think that's also a big change. And wow, I was surprised that almost half the books I read were from the last 2 years. Or I guess technically 3 years, because you count 2020, 2021, and 2022. And now my ratings. I averaged 4.26 stars this year, which is pretty good. And I read 70 5-star books. I read a lot of good books this year, for sure. I read 36 4.5 stars, 49 4 stars, 19 3.5 stars, 21 3 stars, 3 2.5 stars, 1 2-star, and 1 DNF. This was the first year, 2022 is the first year I started implementing half stars in my ratings. And I was like, if only a few of them I give half-star ratings, maybe I won't worry about it in the future. But I think a good chunk of 3 and 3.5 star, or 3.5 and 4.5 stars is helpful. So I will continue using half stars moving forward. I don't think I'll get less than that, because that just seems funky to me in the way that I rate books. But it was pretty good. It's a pretty good reading year for sure. And then we will get into my genre stats. So for 2022, I did encompass a lot of subgenres under contemporary, and then I did split that out further, and I liked the way that kind of played out. So I will be continuing to do that at least through 2023. But I read 84 contemporaries, 43 fantasies, 30 historicals, 20 paranormals, 10 sci-fis, 8 urban fantasies, and 5 fan fictions. I cannot believe I read 84 contemporaries. I used to be a big contemporary reader, and then I did not touch in contemporary for years. And last year was a really high contemporary year, and I feel like this year might have been even higher. And I'm like into contemporaries right now, for sure. And then fantasy. I'm surprised paranormal and sci-fi are as low as they are, and historical. So I can definitely see that this year I read, when I was choosing to like mood read, I definitely leaned more towards contemporary books, but that also could be all the different reading challenges that I participated in, and that a lot of the prompts that are given there lend more easily to contemporary books. But I definitely will chat about it in the 2023 section, but I definitely want to read more of a spread, and also definitely pick up more sci-fi and paranormal books because I love them to pieces. And then as for my contemporary spread, I read 7 dark romances, 1 new adult, 13 rom-coms, 13 small town, 9 sports, 23 holiday, and just 18 straight contemporaries. So I definitely have a preference towards just straight contemporaries, rom-coms, and small towns. I read a lot of holiday books this year. A lot of them were in December, but I also read a lot earlier in the year, I feel like, for like Valentine's Day, and I read a couple holiday romances in January of 2022 that were like Christmas and Thanksgiving ones. But I read them after Christmas, and I mean, you can read them anytime really, but I definitely picked up a lot more holiday romances this year than I have the past couple of years. And that's it for what I keep track of for the most part for my stats. But I did want to go over some quick favorites. I do plan on doing my brackets for my favorites and my 5 main sub-genres, which is contemporary, fantasy, historical, paranormal, and sci-fi. So those are videos coming soon, but I'll touch base on those also in the 2023 section here. But I just wanted to get some favorites out there that I wanted to talk and maybe do, maybe not like kind of honorable mention kind of things if they didn't make it. Some of these you will see in those videos as well, but I just kind of wanted to touch base on some things. So we're going to start off with new authors. So I have some quick favorites. All of these are quick favorites here. So for debut authors, I ended up only reading 2 debut authors in 2022. And that means authors that debuted in 2022, not I read their debut book in 2022. So these authors specifically started publishing their books in 2022. The first is Megan Van Dyke, which I read Second Star to the Left, which is the first book in her Reimagined Fairy Tales series. It is a Tinkerbell and Captain Hook romance. I loved it. I am obsessed with Megan Van Dyke. I have all of her books in paperback now. I have the arc for her new book that comes out in the end of January in her Fairy series. I am a huge fan of her writing style. I definitely need to get caught up in all of her books. She has quite a few out now. The second book in this series is out. I have it on my shelf. I need to read it. I pre-ordered a signed copy of it. I'm very excited for what she does moving forward. And she so far has 2 fantasy romance series, the Fairy Tales one and the Courts of the Fairies. And then she's starting another fantasy romance series this coming year. Plus, we get 2 books in Reimagined Fairy Tales. Book 2 is The Ugly Stepsister. It is Cinderella Snow White kind of mashup. And then book 3 is Alice in Wonderland. And book 4 is Beauty and the Beast. Plus, like I said, in January, we get the second book in her Courts of the Fairy series. Plus, a first book in a new series. She's just spoiling us, and I love that she's just kicking it out strong. I could not believe Second Star to the Left was a debut novel, and I am obsessed. If you like fairy tale retellings, if you like Peter Pan, if you like fantasy romance, if you like romance, if you like books that make you happy, please, please, please read Megan Van Dyke. She's probably my favorite new to me author that I read this year. I am obsessed, and I always love finding a new fantasy romance author. And then I feel bad because I just completely gushed about Megan Van Dyke. I also read Ashley Mack, who is another debut author from 2022. And I read the first book in her new series, The Sight of You. And this is, I believe, the 5 Senses, or just the Senses, or something like that. I enjoyed this. I liked it a lot. I feel like you could tell more that this was a debut book, but I enjoyed myself. I was swept away. I had a blast. I am very excited. The series is now on book like 3 with 3 different novellas out. Plus she started a new series. I have all of them saved on KU. Well, at least the next book in each season or in each series I have downloaded on KU, but I haven't started them yet. So I definitely want to get caught up on her because I love finding new authors and then being able to stay up to date on their new releases so that you can like stay. I don't know. I just get really happy. Like I'm that way with Elsie Silver. I found her in 2021 and I have mostly stayed completely caught up with her. I still have not read Heartless, but I need to read that before the 3rd book comes out. And then there were some other debut authors that I'm really interested in that I did not get to. And so I'm hoping to pick these authors up in 2023. And the first is Jenny L. Howe. I just put these in alphabetical order by their last name. And she has The Makeup Test. This is a plus size academia. And it sounded cute. It sounded kind of rom-com-y. So I was definitely excited to pick that one up and just never did. Also, Amy Leah. She is, I think, an Asian American. I know she is Asian, so we've got POC representation. And I also think the heroine in this also has some representation as well. But this is, I think, Social Influencers or Social Something, the new series. The 2nd book comes out soon, I saw. So I definitely want to try Amy Leah. And then the 3rd, obviously not the last. There are a lot of new authors that came out last year. But Erin LaRosa for Butter or Worse. I'm very interested in this. I was interested in this book before, and then I want a signed copy of it in paperback. So I definitely need to pick up this book. And I am very intrigued. This is a foodie chef romance where they kind of meet on like one of the competition baking shows, and then I think they're both judges, and then they get into like a fight or an argument or something, and she ends up leaving and they get kind of paired together by fans, which I know I can see happening in real life. So I want to read all 3 of these authors that I did not get to. And I do want to try to keep an eye and moving forward in 2023 on debut authors and try to pick up more new authors so I can help like tout them too. And then for new to me authors, so these are not authors that were first published in 2022, I did kind of want to throw a shout out like we saw in my stats. I read over 80 new authors, so it was hard to kind of pare these down, but I had to go with some of the ones that are people I tried to pare it down on if I went on like a mini binge or I want to go on a mini binge of their series. So we have Jenny Bunting. I read her Finch family series, of which I am completely caught up with except for the book that dropped December 30th. So I definitely need to pick that up soon. I have it already checked out on KU. I love these. These are small town. The family owns a brewery. I am a big fan of Jenny Bunting, and I want to get through I think there's 2 other series that she has on KU that are in her backlist. So she is also a newer author. And then I finally picked up Rachel Higginson, and I read The Opposite of You. And this is her chef foodie romance. I've heard Jesson and Juliet from Smart Women Read Romance talk about this book a lot, and I read this book and binged the entire series, and then saw that the spin-off series was starting in 2022, but I have not read that yet. But I went on a complete binge of Rachel Higginson, and so I definitely want to pick up more of her books moving forward, especially the new series. And then this is a new to me author. I saw Rebecca Genshak a couple times throughout the year, but she does, a lot of her books are new adult, so I wasn't super interested in them. But I finally picked up her new holiday duet in December. The first book I read from her was Snowed In with the Player, and I loved this book. I loved the second book, and I have since read the first book in her Campus Wallflowers series. Even though they're new adult, I am enjoying them. I'm definitely intrigued to see more in this series. The third or fourth book in Campus Wallflowers, which is not out yet, is going to be the brother of the two sisters from the Holiday with the Players duet that came out just recently. So I'm very excited for what Rebecca Genshak has in store for us, and she's another one that I would like to get caught up in her backlist. I think she also has like a new adult, maybe even adult hockey romance series. And then I had to throw in at least one new historical author, Mary Jo Putney. I know she's been around forever. I've seen her name. I've marked most of the first books in her series as one to read on Goodreads forever ago. But I finally picked her up, and I did 2 of her audiobooks for Christmas novellas. The first one I did was The Best Husband Money Can Buy, and I loved it. It was one of my favorite Vlogmas books. I wasn't planning on picking up another one of her books, but I ended up picking up another one, and I enjoyed it too. I definitely want to get into her like full-size novels and big series. So if you know anything about Mary Jo Putney or have a good idea on where I should start with her, please let me know down below, because I want to get into Mary Jo Putney because I enjoyed those 2 Christmas novellas so much. And then I also had to throw in Allie York. I read her Words for Nerds series. This is contemporary, short novels, novella-sized, and they're all based around girl geeks and their friendship group and them all finding love. I love them. I'm obsessed with this series. I wish she would release paperback versions of these because I would like them on my shelf. I am obsessed with the way that she wrote nerd culture, and I could see these characters as my friends or see my friends in them, and it just, you could tell she actually knows nerd culture. But what I also loved is that all of the girls, while all just nerds and generally geeky and into like board gaming and D&D and Marvel films and like all the different nerd cultures, they all had their niche. Like one was super into comics, and one is super into fantasy and Tolkien and fantasy books, and the other's very much into cosplay and video games. And so they all have like their niche, but I loved it. I love them. They are on KU. I feel like the last book in the series was setting up a spin-off, but I haven't seen anything about it. So I'm hoping Allie York writes more in this like geeky universe that she created, because I love it. So there are some new to me authors I absolutely adored. And then I wanted to just touch base on my most read authors. A couple of these were not a surprise to me. So the first is Alona Andrews. I read 17 books. We finished the Kate Daniels read-along and jumped into Hidden Legacy read-along. And they've got a lot of full-size books. They've got a lot of novellas. I love Alona Andrews. I'm enjoying doing the read-along. I'm very excited to start the Innkeeper's Chronicles read-along this month. So I am not surprised that Alona Andrews was number 1. Number 2 is Sarah J. Maas, which is Kingdom of Ash. I also am doing the read-along for that. I had never read Sarah J. Maas before, and I am obsessed. I am loving her books. They are so fun. I'm enjoying her take on fantasy romance and the world building, and I'm having a lot of fun doing the discussions each month during the read along. It's so fun, especially for how big this world is and for how much she has going on in them, to sit down and like chat with everybody and pick up on things I missed or things that I don't realize have implications, because a lot of these people are first time readers like me, but I feel like it's like maybe 40-60 split, where 40% are new readers and 60% are rereaders. So they're like pointing out things like, oh yeah, remember that little thing? Just keep that in the back of your mind. Or, oh, I forgot this happened. And, oh, it has implications later on. So it's... I love these books, but I'm having so much fun with the read-along, and it's one of my favorite times, and usually they're at the end of the month, and I just love being able to sit down, and obviously I'm watching, I'm not on the live shows, but I just have so much fun talking and listening to other people talk about these books and seeing what other people thought and picked up on, and how they took different things that the characters did in different ways. And it's just so much fun. So much fun. It's one of my favorite read-alongs that I've done. I feel like, and I love the Alona Andrews read-along, but I feel like a lot more of that is just gushing over Alona Andrews. But I feel like there's a little more differing opinions with Sarah J. Maas between the people participating in the two read-alongs, but I have enjoyed both, and I'm not surprised. Then we have a lot smaller numbers. We have Allie York. Like I just mentioned, I binged her entire Words for Nerds series. There are 6 books in it apparently. And yeah, I love them. If you're looking for geeky contemporary romance with like really done well nerd geek characters, definitely check her out. And then also one of my favorite authors is Jackie Lau, and so I definitely got caught up on one of her series. She's one of the authors that I'm continuously trying to get through her backlist, and every year I try to read a couple more from her backlist on top of all of her new releases, of which she had a couple this year. So yeah, 6 books also for Jackie Lau. And this one is specifically the last book in her Cider Bar Sister series, Her Unexpected Roommate. And then I read 5 books by Molly O'Hare. I went on a little reading binge of her. I found her, I don't know if I read my first book from her this year or if I first picked her up in 2021, but she does mostly plus size romances. They're super fun, rom-com-y. Some of them are a little silly, but I enjoy them. They're a good like palate cleanser for me. And then I'm surprised I only had 4 on here, but the 6th most read author I had is Juliet Cross for 4 books, but those are her 4 new releases, because we had Always Practice Safe Hex and Resting Witch Face, and then we had the start of her Smarty Pants romance, Parks and Provocation, and then we had her first contemporary romance series on her own, and that was Bright Like Wildfire. And let's be honest, you'll probably see all 4 of those books in my brackets because I love Juliet Cross. So I do have a couple more books in her backlist to read, but I'm mostly caught up, so I just kind of stick to her new releases. Although we have the final book in the Stay a Spell series coming out in May this year, so I might have to reread the whole series leading up to release. But yeah. Okay, and then my final little quick favorites that I wanted to go over was I wanted to look at my favorite contemporary sub-genres, because I do keep a lot of those I call them sub-genres, the contemporary ones. So the normal, the dark, holiday, small town, all of those. I do have those all bracketed under small town or under contemporary, but not all of the sub-genres ended up on my bracket. So I at least wanted to. Some of these you will see on my bracket, but you'll probably see most of these on my bracket. But I just wanted to throw them out there because if they didn't make it, or if they didn't make it in a bonus because I read so many contemporary novels, I just wanted to shout them out. So we're just going to kind of go over these quickly. So my favorite normal contemporary romance this year was Falling Like Stars by Eve Casey. I read this in January of 2022. And this is the first book in her All In series. We have a Chinese astronaut, and this is like private party building space visiting vessels. So we've got STEM science in here. He's Chinese, and it is his romance with like a lady who's brought in to do like the event planning and experience of the whole like trip when somebody books a space travel flight. So it sounds weird to say like she is an event planner, but she's like an experience planner, and I enjoyed this. I have all of this series in paperback, but I have not finished reading it, so I definitely want to read more of Eve Casey. She's also a new to me author from 2022 that I want to read more of, but she did not make my limit of 5 or 6 that I had on the previous slide. I think it was 5. And then a dark romance. My favorite dark romance this year was Savage Hearts by G.T. Geisinger. This is the 3rd book in the Queens and Monsters series. I still have to read the 4th book, but I love this. This was definitely it was a tough choice between this and Untouchable by Sam Mariano, but I had to go with Savage Hearts because it's so good. It's so good. I'm kind of edging reading the last book in the series because I don't want the series to be over. But yeah, I love this book. For holiday romance, I had to give it to Jackie Lau and A Match Made for Thanksgiving. This is a part of her Holidays with the Wongs series, which is 4 novellas. It is Thanksgiving, Christmas, Valentine's Day. Is there one more, or is there just 3? It might be just 3. Or maybe it's 4. I know it's those 3. And then I was thinking New Year's, but the New Year holiday novella she released was actually a part of the Cider Bar Sisters series. So maybe that's why I'm thinking there's 4. But I know there's at least 3. But yeah, I had to give it to this one. This one is my favorite. I just loved it to pieces. I love Jackie Lau, and this is like a quintessential Thanksgiving holiday romance, and you can read it earlier because this is technically Canadian Thanksgiving. And then for new adult, I chose Never Sweeter by Charlotte Stein. This is a book in her Dark Obsession series. I think this is book 2. I love this. I did have some issues with the heroine in this, but for new adult, I really enjoyed it, and the hero really saved this book for me. Not that I hated the heroine, but the last 30, 40-ish%, she was making some silly choices that I did not agree with, even with taking the fact that she was super young. But I enjoyed this one a lot. For rom-com, I had to give it to one of the Words for Nerds books. I just had to, so I went with I Touch My Shelf by Allie York. This is the fantasy-obsessed sister. This is Tuesday's book. She is a fantasy writer, but nobody knows that she is. And she's also had a crush on one of her best friend's older brother, who owns the bookstore across or is like the manager of the bookstore across the street. And they end up having like an email back and forth because he tries to convince the author of these fantasy books to come do a showing at his store because he knows that Tuesday loves fantasy books and she loves reading, and he's heard her talk about this author before, and so he contacts them to try to get them to break the rule of doing no in-person signings because she writes under a male pen name. And so they have that, and then they finally start getting over their mutual pining, and she is like a baker, and she's Lord of the Rings and fantasy world obsessed, and she's a huge reader. And it was a tough choice between this and her twin's book, and her twin is like a comic book graphic novel artist, and so she's working on creating one, and her romance is with Tuesday's book agent, and I loved that one as well. But I had to give it to a touch myself, because all of her little, like, oh my Gandalf, or sweet little baby hobbits, or like her weird fantasy curse words, now I want to reread at least this book. I love this series. I cannot say more about that. Like, I loved this series. For Small Town, I had to give it to Juliet Cross for Bright Like Wildfire. This is the first book in her new series, her new contemporary series. And I loved it. I loved it to pieces. We have Bennett. And, I mean, it's small town goodness, centered around community theater. I mean, it's Juliet Cross in contemporary form. What else do you need to know? I loved it to pieces. And then for sports romance, I am throwing a curveball out there, and I'm going to do Pairing Off by Elizabeth Harmon. I also read this in the beginning of the year. I want to say January or early February. And this is the first book in her Red Hot Russian series. And I love this book so much. It is a figure skating romance, and it is a pairs figure skating romance. And it is, our heroine was a part of an American team, and she finds out at one of the world championships or ISU tours or something. I think it was a world championship, because then the gold medal was stripped from her and her partner, because it came out that her partner was sleeping with one of the judges. So they both get disgraced. And she ends up being invited to Russia to be partner with a male Russian figure skater, because he needs a new partner to kind of finish out his final year of figure skating, and it is their romance. It is set mostly in Russia. I want to read more in this series. The other ones seem like some of them might just have a figure skater in them and not centered around the figure skating, but then other books are full, like, sports figure skating romances. But I definitely want to read more of this. However, when I was in the mood for these was shortly before, like, when I was contemplating picking it up, and then Russia invaded Ukraine, and then I just felt weird, even though this is by an American author. I just felt weird picking up a series called Red Hot Russians. And so I have not picked it up yet, but I know this is not benefiting Russia in any way, and it's written by an American author, but I just felt weird, so I didn't pick them up. But I definitely want to read more in this series, especially the more figure skating books. You could tell in this book that Elizabeth Harmon had experienced figure skating herself, and I did find out later after I read the book. I checked out her website, and I don't think she made it super, like, high tier wise in figure skating, but she was a part of the community for, I think, her entire childhood in, like, teen years or something like that. So if you're looking for figure skating really well done, this is it. I still think about this book, and it was blurbed to me as a more dramatic Russian take of Cutting Edge. And I don't know if it's quite as good as Cutting Edge, because Cutting Edge is gold. But if you enjoy Cutting Edge, and you enjoy figure skating, and you enjoy sports romances, and you can get past the fact that this is set in Russia and her hero is Russian, definitely check this out. I really, really enjoyed it. And that is it for quick favorites. And that is it for my 2022 stats. So that took a lot longer than I thought to get through, but I forgot I had some books I wanted to talk about as favorites. For my videos of 2022, I posted 121 videos. I still have, technically 3 videos left of weekly vlogs from 2022 I need to post. I got a little bit behind, but only 2 of those should have been posted in 2022, so technically it should have been 123, but that is more than the 2 videos a week that I originally had thought when I started my booktube. It is officially over a year since I've had a booktube, and I've enjoyed it. I've definitely learned some things. I've definitely thought a lot more of my reading and what I'm picking up, and I've tried to participate in more readathons and be more vocal about that my participation online and on Instagram. Since I've moved and I've been in a weird house situation, I've definitely kind of slowed things down. I haven't posted any reviews on my blog or anything like that. Videos kind of were paused for a little bit, but I'm hoping that I should be getting a new place. I'm like 2/3 approved, so I'm waiting for my final improvement right now when I'm filming this. And if everything goes well as it should, I should be moving January 20th into my new place, and then I'm hoping to kind of get things reset and then starting in February move forward from there. But I definitely enjoyed my first year of booktube, and I can't believe that I did 121 videos. That is crazy. I cannot believe it. But yeah, so we're already super long into this. I'm sorry that this is a lot. So I'm going to try to quickly go over what I have planned for 2023 here. So for goals, some of this I mentioned in the New Year Booktuber tag. I'll link it up above if you haven't seen it yet. And in that video, we were asked for 3 bookish goals and 3 personal goals. But then I have a couple other ones that I either forgot to mention or I mentioned in a different way on that video. So I just want to kind of touch over and put those here as well. So bookish related, we'll kind of start there. I would like to be better at reading at least one book that's 4 stars or more in each subgenre, my 5 main subgenres, so that I don't have as hard of a time filling out my brackets at the end of the year, because it was a struggle for paranormal and sci-fi romance. So that is contemporary, fantasy, historical, paranormal, and sci-fi. So I can fill out those 5 brackets in January of 2024. I also would like to finish 2 rereads. So I would like to finish my Lucky Harbor reread. I've read the first couple books in that, so I would like to finish getting through that series. And then I would also like to start and finish the reread of Dragonkin by G.A. Aiken. The Lucky Harbor series is contemporary small town romance by Jill Shalvis. But Dragonkin is a fantasy romance by G.A. Aiken, and I would like to reread this series so I can start her spin-off series. Finally, book 3 just came out. So those are the 2 big series I would like to finish rereading. And then one big series I would like to get caught up in is Cressley Cole's Immortals After Dark. I want to really kind of work on those 3 books, or those 3 book series for 2023. Maybe I'll try to do a book a month, which doesn't get me completely caught up or completely finished with those series, but it would at least help me take a big step towards those. Also, some other bookish things that I want to mention is I want to do better at making use of my library. I have, through my library's Hoopla, I get to check out 10 books a month. I've only hit that once, and that was in December of 2022 because I was going through so many holiday novella audiobooks. So I definitely want to try to get to, I don't know, I want to say I'd like to use all 10 because you can also use them for movies and other things, but I want to set a goal to at least do 5. And if I can get 5 library books a month, that would be good. And hopefully 5 Hoopla books, and then use whatever I can from my Libby. But I'd like to utilize more of those. I created a tracker in the digital journal I made for 2023. And I will do a flip through, but I'll talk about that in my upcoming planned videos here. So I do want to do that bookish wise. And then kind of branching into more personal goals. Sorry, I had to sneeze. So branching into more personal goals. and kind of bridging that gap are video plans that I have. So I would like to, first off, be better in 2023 of marketing my videos. I've already posted Instagram things with links to the videos that I've uploaded already this year. So, and I have a couple templates made so that it makes it easier for me to do that. I'm just not good at posting it when it goes live, because I usually set my books to go, or my videos to post at 1 p.m. Mountain Time. And don't ask me why I chose 1 p.m. but because sometimes I am busy at work, I will, like, if I have a chance and it's getting close to 1, I will prep it, but then I will try to post it as close to 1 as I can. But as long as I can do it within a couple hours or before I leave work for the day, for example, so by like 5 o'clock, and at least post that I have a new video up, I definitely want to be better at posting that and just being a little more proactive in, I don't know, acting and participating in the community, because I'm kind of just kept insular and by myself, which doesn't surprise me because that's how I am in real life too. I just kind of do my own thing and just stick to myself, and like I have my close group of friends that I talk to and I don't really go outside of them. So I definitely need to push some boundaries and be a little more open and less timid in reaching out to other people to do collabs or other things like that. But yeah, that is where I'm at for now. As for specific videos, now January is slightly different, but for most of the year, I would like to stick to 2 videos. I am going to slightly adjust my video schedule, and hopefully I will kind of stick to it. So I am moving to posting Sundays and Thursdays. So hopefully, I mean, I usually end up posting. Last year I was trying Saturdays and Wednesdays, but then sometimes Saturday would end up on Sunday, and sometimes the Wednesday would end up on Thursday. So in my mind, I'm going to try to still have videos ready by Saturdays and Wednesdays, but then post them on Sundays and Thursdays. So that gives myself, if there is an issue, like my computer restarts while it's exporting for some stupid reason and the video gets corrupted and I have to re-export or something like that, I have that little bit of a buffer. So that is my plan. I am going to continue doing my weekly vlogs. Hopefully I will try to keep them a little bit shorter and less rambling, and I will continue to do like unboxings and just touch base on what books I'm reading, plus playing the daily calendar, quest calendar, which is a game via daily calendar, and just life updates, because I do enjoy talking about that stuff. But then I want to try to keep my bookish content to the videos that I post on the weekends. So right now, for most weeks, you would think there's 4 videos a week on like 4 weeks in a month. So I have my wrap up, my TBR, and then I'm hoping to do a book tag and a dedicated reading vlog. So reading only vlog. Now, some of these, if there are readathons going on that are specific to just that month, not any long-term readathons, I will probably use that reading vlog for that. But otherwise, I have a couple ideas of reading vlogs I would like to do this year, but we shall see. If there are more readathons going on in the month, like there ends up being the Mafia Romance readathon and then the Historical Romance readathon, those will be up on an extra day. Right now, I am planning on, if there's extra videos I can upload, on doing them either Tuesdays or Saturdays, but I think Tuesday is the plan. So, but January will be different. I have a lot of my wrap up and favorite videos going up in January. So I'm just going to give you a brief rundown of what I have planned. I have my planner with sticky notes here open. So we obviously have weeks 1, 2, and 3, which will be posted. So Thursdays, those will be the day for my weekly vlogs. So we've got week 1 starting on the 12th. So that will be the 1st through the 6th, because I do them through Fridays, weekend, like Saturday, Sunday through Fridays, or what I do my weekly vlogs as. And then we've got weeks 2, 3. So those will be the same every Thursday, hopefully, and it'll just be the past week of what's going on. For after today's video, if you're watching this when it comes up, it is Sunday, January 8th. So what I have planned for the next 3 Sundays are how I track my reading. So I want to go over the Google form I use, the Google stat sheets that I create to control my stats. Plus, I created this year, I'm going to try using a digital reading journal instead of a billion different templates and layouts that I've created on Canva. Hopefully I can condense it into one reading journal, and then I just have to do the templates for my videos. So I'm going to try to, I'm going to do a video about that. Now that's what I have planned for next Sunday. The following Sunday, I plan on doing my book wrap up where I go over the books I've read. However, I never posted one for October or November, so I'm calling it my Q4 wrap up. I'm going to hopefully quickly go over the books that I read in October, November, and December, plus the stats specific to those 3 months. And that will be on the 22nd. So those are the next 2 Sundays. However, they might flip. I am mostly done with my reading journal. However, I need to finish the last little thing I have going on for 2023 in the stats section. And then I want to prep my January layout now that we're a week into January. And then I want to film it. So depending on when I get that done, those might get flip-flop just depending on when I'm ready to film my digital reading journal. I did not start working on it and creating it until like January 2nd. So that's why I'm a little behind the ball on that one. And then the final Sunday should be my February TBR. So no real reading vlog for the month of January, but that is because we also have my favorites brackets that will be coming out, and I will be posting these on Tuesdays. So you should see in 2 days my contemporary favorites drop. I am going to be doing them just in alphabetical order. So for the next 5 Tuesdays after this video is posted, you will see my 5, me working through my 5 brackets. So I have contemporary, fantasy, historical, paranormal, and then the final one will be the first Tuesday of February, which will be February 6th, and that will be my sci-fi favorites. And then from that point forward, it will be to the mostly 2 videos a week format, with any extra readathons or extra videos thrown in, most likely on Tuesdays. Once again, we'll see how this favorites is on Tuesdays, and I might tweak the schedule there. Obviously, there are lots of things going on. Like I mentioned, I am potentially moving in the end of January, so things might get a little kerfluffled around that time, but I'm hoping, since some of these videos I can pre-film outside of the weekly vlogs, to get things at least up and ready for the weekend posts way in advance. But we'll see what happens. And then for some other oh, I guess I do want to mention, I do plan on posting like full written reviews on my blog moving forward. I have missed doing that. I haven't done it in a couple months, maybe longer than that. And I definitely have some catch up, but because I am surprisingly doing so much for booktube, I didn't think I would be doing this much. I thought I was just going to do maybe 1 video, but I'm enjoying doing more. I think I will kind of stop doing the extra wrap-ups and readathon announcement and things on my blog, and just mainly stick to reading reviews. I do want to write up a post this weekend that says I will be back in February, hopefully, and hopefully that will also give me time to kind of prep some reviews. And I haven't quite decided how I'm going to do it, if I'm going to just stick to new books I've read, in 2023, and then throw in books I still need to review in 2022 when there's like a lull in my schedule. But I am hoping to try to stick to the 3 reviews a week, but maybe up until I'm caught up from books from 2022, but that's still kind of in flux. But that won't be till February. But I do want to write a blog post because I haven't done it. I'm so sorry, I've gone thing. So that is coming. But yeah, and then I also have 3 personal goals that I also mentioned in that video, like I said before. So definitely check those out if you have not seen that video. Again, I had linked it when I mentioned it before. And then the final thing that I would like to chat about are the 2 big yearly reading challenges that I will be doing for 2023. Okay, so I have 2 main reading challenges that I will be doing over the entirety of 2023. So I wanted to kind of touch base on those here. So I will start off with the first one. I am doing Guild-a-Thon. Now this has been run previously in the past. However, it was called Finish a Series-a-thon or something like that. But they have changed it up a little bit, and it is now Guild-a-Thon. This is run mainly on Discord. Most of these people are Instagram and Bookstagram people who are hosting it. However, there is one person who has a booktube video, so I will link up above her announcement video for that. And I am very enjoyed it and excited to kind of join this. You pick a guild. There are quite a few different options, and then there are several reading prompts, and when you finish a book, you can you apply it to a prompt, you earn 5 points. However, if it is the final book in a series, then you earn 15 points for reading it. So you don't apply it to a prompt. You get 15 points plus all of the other books in that series except for the first one. So if you read an entire series, you will get, so like if it's a 6-book series, you will get 5 points for each of the first 5 books if they apply to one of the reading prompts, and if you read them like during this whole thing. So if you were to start a 6-book series now, you would get 5 points each for the first 5 books if they fit any of the prompts. Then the 6th book, when you read it, and if it is the final book in the series and the series is over, you get 15 points plus points for each book in the series minus 1. So you don't count the first book. Although now that I'm thinking about it, I should see if you count that current book. But I don't think you do. So I think there would be the first 5 books. You don't count the first book. So then 2, 3, 4, 5. So I think you get 4 extra bonus points plus the 15. So that book would be worth 19 points. If it is the final book in a series that is still ongoing, then it is worth 10 points. So it is worth it to apply those to those instead of just the 5-point reading prompt. And then there are going to be other events throughout the year right now, or at least until January 8th. So the day that this is going up is the final day, but there's an extra 5 points for the first book you read, and they have you submit them all in a Google form, and you fill out like what it is, and there is a separate form for the New Year's event. So it's all in the Discord. Definitely check out the video. Like I mentioned, I have it linked above. I'll also link her down below, and there then you can get the links to the Discord to join. I was debating between a couple different guilds, and I ended up going with Curious Flame. And the reason I did Curious Flame is because one of the prompts that you'll see is read a romance book, and since that is 99% of what I read, I figured at the very least any book I read this year could work for that prompt. So I went with them. Plus, it's a guild that's all about like passion and creation and like making things. And they have some non-reading prompts that you can do as well. And also music. And those are like my things. I'm a crafter. I love music and I love to read. That's like throwing board games and you've got me in a guild. So I decided to go with that one, even though I was really interested in the storm one because I love like storms and weathers. But I went with the Curious Flame Guild. Here is a template that one of the participants made. She made them for all of the different guilds, but I just have the one for the Curious Flame. So I'll go over the prompts that I will be kind of leaning towards or working towards this year. So we have Crimson Robes, a red cover, Turn Up the Heat, read a romance, illustrated book, read a book with pictures or a beautiful cover, Through the Fire and Flames, read a book or series that you love and want to continue, Technical, read a sci-fi or a book that has advanced technology, Musical, read a book that features music, Dance Among the Flames, scroll through social media. Now this one is listed in the bookish prompts, so I'm assuming it's scroll through social media, find a book, and go with that one. Got Burned, read a second chance author that you previously did not like. Heat of the Moment, a random pick. I will probably be putting together a spinner wheel for some things so that I can use that prompt. Quenching, which is reread a comfort book. Alloy, multiple book genre. So this one in the Discord is listed as a book that you picked up because it combines like two tropes or two genres that you were interested in. And then we get to the non-bookish prompts. So we have Foraging Time, which is make something. Music to your ears, make a playlist for a character in your book. I'm not a big playlist maker outside of music that I listen to, and even then I have like my current playlist and then I have all the music that I like playlist are the two that I listen to the most outside of Christmas time. So I don't see myself doing that one, but it's there if you're into that kind of thing. Woe the People, create a poem or a hero's tale. Power of the Flame, take a picture of your book in front of a fire, and it can be a fake fire or a real fire. And Khajiit Has Wares, showcase an item. So yeah, that one, I think if I do like a book haul or something and post it on Instagram, I would use for that prompt. So that's the kind of there's more information on each of these prompts. This is just simplified for this template, but there is a lot more information and like fun text to each of these prompts in the Discord for sure. So yeah, that's basically how it goes. That, like I said, there will be extra events and extra ways to earn points throughout the year, but basically I'm just going to try to apply all of the books that I read this year to a prompt, and if it doesn't fit any of the other prompts, then use it for read a romance. Plus, you know, with me getting into audiobooks, it'd be nice if I could get back into crocheting more. I have some projects I still need to finish. I still have a couple Christmas gifts I have to finish, and I'd also like to work on a couple of diamond paintings that I have. So hopefully, though, because there is the option to make something, that will also be able to easily get me some non-bookish prompts. So I'm very excited for this. So far, people have been super nice in the Discord, and it doesn't seem like it's too overloaded with a bunch of people. So it still feels very small, like a small community, but in a good way. But there's still like enough people that there's a lot going on. So I don't think I'm going to do any official TBRs for this. Maybe if I'm getting close to hitting each of the bookish prompts once, maybe I'll try to find a book to at least complete all of the prompts at least once. But yeah, I'm excited for that. And let me just die here choking on my spit. And then the other one I am very excited for. I was meaning to film this clip earlier this month, closer to the new year, so I can use this for the first time, but coming back for 2023 is Romance-opoly. This is Romance Monopoly. This is hosted by Under the Covers book blog. I will link the site down below. I'm very excited for this. When I first started kind of watching booktube was when they were wrapping up the last year that they did Romance-opoly, and then it wasn't around the following year. So I'm very excited to participate this year. I mean, I could have found the boards and still just done it on my own, but you know, if you know me, you know I am obsessed with board games. I mean, Monopoly is probably one of my least favorites, but give me a board game reading challenge and I'm in. Like, it took 2 seconds. Like, I realized Romance-opoly was a thing and I was like, I'm in. I don't care what it is, when it is, how it runs. I am in. And of course I have to go overboard. So they have digital versions. They have a bunch of printable files for free and PDF files on their website. And I took it a step further. So I went to my local FedEx and I got things printed out properly. So I did cards. So I got them. These are printed on a glossy cardstock, just to kind of keep them nice since I didn't want to laminate them. And then there is stuff on the back so you can write down what books you read. I don't know if I'm going to do that just because this is a glossy cardstock, so I don't know how well it would stick. But maybe if I write on it and then laminate it or something after the fact, I might do that. But so I got all the cards printed out, as you can see. If you do not know Romance-opoly, there are, I keep saying 39, but I believe there are 32 challenges. And what you have are the genre and I wrote my notes. Let me pull up. And even though I'm starting like my digital reading journal, I am trying to keep track of my readathons and stuff in my Marvel notebook just to finish it out. I mean, I have this much left, so we might as well just finish it out, right? Uh-oh. Something fell out of it. So let me go to my Romance-opoly notes on rules here, because I put some up. Okay, so there are the neighborhood prompts, which are the colored squares, and then there are the miscellaneous prompts. So each spot has basically, almost all of them have 2 options. There is a genre option and there is a specific prompt, and you can do either or depending on how you want to do it. What did I do with the cards? Right here. So for example, the one I have here is coffee shop. So if you want to do the genre only prompt, it is read a thriller or a mystery. Now, I'm going to, if I do the genre options, make sure it's still a romance or it has romantic themes, because this is Romance-opoly and there are some mystery and thriller prompts on here, but what I'm going to do is look for like romantic suspenses or romantic mysteries or romance novels that have a mystery in them, and I'm going to try to stick to just romance novels. But then there's also your normal prompt. So for example, this one is let me just pull it up on here so then you can still look at it. Coffee shop, coffee shop, coffee shop, coffee shop, coffee shop. Is at the end, of course. Of course, it's the last one. Read a book that has been recommended to you. This includes all of the recs by Under the Book blog. So you can choose to either read in a genre or follow the prompt. And I got all of the cards printed. They are, just so you know, they are kind of slightly mismatched in size wise. As you can tell, they don't quite sit flush to each other, so I'm not sure exactly what happened when the PDF was done, but when I talked to the people at FedEx about it, they were like, that's how the PDF is. So, but that's fine. I still love it. These are not in order yet, but I will eventually put these in order. So I got the cards printed, and then I also got the board printed. So I'm going to show you. And I got it the size of a normal Monopoly board, which is 20 inches by 20 inches. And ta-da! It's so big. It is so big. So there we go. That is it in all its glory. I did a foam poster board, and then I got it laminated just to kind of help protect it. I am obsessed. It is gorgeous. It is like, it is just a great piece of something to put like on your bookshelves and have. It's like decor. I love it to pieces. I cannot wait to start using it. So I will do my first rolls with you on the board. Yeah, this is, the 20 by 20 is large. If I do this again and get it professionally done, I'll probably go a little bit smaller, maybe 16 by 16, but the 20 by 20 is fun. It's just real Monopoly boards fold in half. So, but I am obsessed with it. It came out so nice. I could have gone larger. The JPEG that they have of the board that's available to download is a larger size. So if you want to print it, you can print it larger. This ended up being less than $50 for me. However, the dude was like so excited to work with me on it. He actually forgot to charge me for the printing of the board. He charged me for like the materials to laminate it and the material of the poster board, but he forgot to charge me for the actual printing of it. So it should have been like 20 bucks more, but which would have put it over $50, but it was all under $50 for everything. And they had it in less than 24 hours. So I did have to do it overnight, but I was there like right before they closed at like 5:30. So, and I had it by like 2 the next day. So I'm very excited for it. And yeah, so let us do our roll. Oh, and then I wanted to pick out, I had a little cat 3D printed meeple that I wanted to use for it, but it's somewhere in my packed boxes. But my boss as like a little souvenir when she went to Cabo this year, she usually gets me little kitty things from Mexico. She got me this little cute carved kitty out of some sort of stone, and I decided to use this as my meeple because he's super cute. And I think he'll look perfect because he can walk around the board and it's a little kitty. Okay. I'm just trying to think if there was anything else I wanted to mention about it. Oh, there are a couple different ways. I mean, obviously you can do it however you want to do it, but in the rules they mentioned that you can either do it one by one. So you start at the first block and go section by section and just go around the board, or you can roll and play it like real Monopoly. However, if you land on a book that you, or a prompt that you've already fulfilled and you don't want to read it again, you can just move to the next open prompt so that you hit all of the prompts on the board. So I'm going to do it the second way and roll and have fun. I do have my 5 dice that I have pulled for my Yahtzee. So I will pick my frosted purple D6 and we'll do the see-through teal. So I will use these 2 for my first roll. So let us switch to the board and we will do the roll here. Okay, so here is the Romanceopoly board in all of its glory. So we will start over here in this bottom corner that is Welcome to Romancelandia. Since you can see the whole board at once, we will just kind of quickly go over the board itself. So we've got the whites are the miscellaneous ones. They're all mostly location or season based. And then we've got our corners are more special event kind of places. Or I guess they're just normal places. But we've got a couple different things. And then the rows on top kind of lead towards the genre prompts, and all of them are kind of housed together in the different genre prompts. So we've got our like browns over here, our thrillers, then we move into contemporary for blue. Our red here is our pink, this is historical. Our orange is paranormal. Red is LGBTQ. Yellow is fantasy. Green here is kind of a little bit of a catch-all. It's young adult, romantic suspense, and new adult. And then purple here is sci-fi. All of the different, outside of the 4 seasonals, we've got winter, spring, summer, and autumn. And then the other white ones, the 3 libraries are any. Those are basically you can read any book. Choose any book is what both of the prompts are. So that one doesn't really have a genre prompt. It's any genre or read any book you'd like. And then the other ones do kind of rotate what they are genre-wise. But then the more specific prompt is pertaining to the actual location of where you are. So we've got the bar, the BFF's house, burger joint, farmer's market, the gym, the office, the coffee shop, and then we've got the 3 corners, which is post office, haunted house, and emergency services. But like I said, they're all kind of random. So like the gym, the genre prompt for that is historical. So that doesn't really fit with the gym, but they're just kind of paired randomly. But so we've got a good mix of a lot of different subgenres and tropes on here, and I'm very excited. So, and also when I put my cards in order, I don't have emergency services. So I don't know what happened to that card. I'll have to check the box that I put them all in. Otherwise I might have lost the card. But at least I can pull up and see what the prompts are. And if I remember correctly, it's read a book where one of the main characters is in emergency services. And so they're including like military, police work, firefighters, and somebody in the medical professional. But let's just get started. So I've got my little kitty on start. I have my little kitty curled up right here. She's cleaning herself. I tried to make her meow and she didn't really, but you hear her every other time. But let us roll our dice. I'm so excited. This is our first roll. And 7. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So BFF's house. So I will pull the card here. So that is, let me have my light on. There we go. And if this is shaky, it's because she's cleaning herself and she's leaning against the tripod. So I'm sorry about that, but she is being a crazy little kitty. So this is BFF's house. Read a friends to lovers romance book. If you like to do the genre only prompt, it is YA or new adult. So friends to lovers romance, I prefer way more than enemies to lovers romance. So I'm definitely excited for this. In my tracking list that I created, I do have a spot for the date I rolled it, and then what book I read and when I finished reading the book. So yeah, I will get this updated and I will look for a friends to lovers romance, of which I have a lot. And then if I have some free time to kind of mood read, I'll definitely try to gear whatever genre I'm looking for to a friends to romance in that subgenre. But I'm very excited. We've got our first roll. And we didn't end up on our property. We ended up on a random, which is crazy. So that's so exciting. But I will bump it back up to sitting normal Stacy. So that was it. That was my first roll for Romance-opoly. I will try to do my rolls at least in my weekly vlogs. Who knows? I might try to, depending on how quickly I get through these books, I might try to do compilation videos of me just doing the Romance-opoly things to have them as their own videos and do like mini vlogs for them. But I don't know. Things are still up in the air. I have a lot of plans. I have a lot of stuff I'd like to do. I don't know how it's all going to quite shake down yet, but I at least wanted to get started on Romance-opoly. For these 2 yearly reading challenges, I'm just going to kind of passively work through them. Obviously, I'll make my roll when I finish a book for Romanceopoly, but then I'm not going to necessarily targetedly pick up the next book unless I'm in a time where I can mood read or we're getting close to the end of the year, because I want to focus on getting through my book club books and hitting all 5 of my subgenres in a month before allowing myself to really kind of mood read outside of those 2 restrictions. And then I will get just stuff that can fit while it happens. But we have all of 2023, and I think it'll be doable. 32 books in the year. So, I mean, if one prompt takes me a month and a half to get to, but then other times I feel like our rules could end up hitting sequentially really well. There are some, I think all of the library spots, of which there are 2, I think. 3? I think there's 3 library spots. Those are read any book. And then there's a couple of the easier ones that like any romance book could hit. So I'm excited for it. If you are participating in either of these or want more information, definitely let me know. And I'm sorry this is a long video and there is a lot going on, but I wanted to kind of touch base on 2022 and talk about what I have planned for 2023. Should these have been 2 separate videos? I don't know, maybe to keep them short, maybe, but I just wanted to get it done and not add an extra video into my already crazy lineup for January. So if you made it through here, thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. If you would like to leave me an emoji down below, leave something board game related, some dice, a little pawn icon, something fun. And I will see you all soon, and have a very merry, very happy, very book-filled 2023.